very first thing I noticed when I got on the bike was how different it feels to the old one. It feels like the whole chassis has been redesigned completely by somebody who rides off-road with the goal of making the bike really good for that. The handlebars are a completely different position. The way the bike feels between your legs is really narrow and smooth and nothing really intrudes. And when we took the bike off-road, that made a huge difference. The foot pegs are really good, and right from the start when you stand up, it feels very natural. It feels exactly like you'd want. The chassis of the bike off-road was incredibly impressive. It's a very balanced bike and extremely responsive, whereas the old Multistrada off-road, it struggled, it was sluggish, it felt like a road bike. This doesn't at all. You can do absolutely everything you'd ever want to do. You can make it slide, you can back it in, you can be very precise when you want to. It's incredibly easy to ride. One of the biggest surprises for me was how good the ABS was off-road. It was so stable under braking, and the normal pump back you get, even with some of the really good systems, never happened. It responded really well, and I could brake really hard into the corner, and that made it really confidence inspiring. That same easy feeling is in the engine as well. Right from the bottom, it's extremely smooth and controllable with the throttle. You can be very precise. It's as manageable as you could want an engine to be, really. It's a bike that would work for anyone of any ability. You could get on it and never have been off-road before, and you'd find it really, really easy to get through stuff. Like off-road, on the road, the new Multistrada Enduro is a completely different animal to the old bike. It's got much more suspension, it's got a different wheel, different swing arm. It doesn't even feel like it's from the same family. The way it handles on the road is still incredibly good. It's very progressive and smooth, but you have a lot more movement in the suspension than you had in the old bike, and so you have to ride it a little bit differently. It feels now more like a typical adventure bike. You have to respect that a little bit on the road, but you can still ride extremely quickly. We started out riding in touring mode and it's extremely comfortable, but as soon as you've got any kind of corner in the way, it doesn't really work. If I was going to ride down a freeway for a few hours, then I'd probably put it in that mode, but as soon as there's a twisty corner coming, you wanted to make the bike as stiff as possible, because the stiffer you made it, the better it responded. It moved less, it wallowed less in the corners, and you could just carry a lot more speed and do it a lot safer and more comfortably. Likewise on the road, the engine was incredibly nice to ride, especially in sport mode. It's really powerful, but it's really free as well. It doesn't hamper you, it doesn't have too much engine braking coming into corners. It just likes to run nicely, and the roll on when you coming out of the corner is so enjoyable to ride, because there's nothing wrong with the fueling anywhere. Right from the first bit, it just pulls really cleanly, and it makes it an easy bike to ride regardless of what speed you want to ride at. Low speed movements are much easier than I remember the old Multistrada being as well. It's a lot harder bike to stall. The changing of the rear sprocket size has just made everything a bit easier and a bit more rider friendly. If you're not such a confident rider, strangely, I think you'd be better off on this bike than you would be on the standard Multistrada. The final part of the Multistrada for me that really strikes is just how well finished it feels. Every single part of the bike feels like it's been gone over with a fine-tooth comb and is just utterly beautiful. All in, I've had a really great time riding the Multistrada. It's put a smile on my face all day, especially off-road. I felt like it could do absolutely everything I wanted it to all the time. And it was a really playful bike. It's easy to lift the front wheel on, it's easy to hop over holes and ditches. It's just an extremely enjoyable bike. And likewise on the road, there's that same character. The engine is smooth and beautiful. It sounds so good all the time. You can just hear the V-twin. It's beautiful to ride, and I don't know why you wouldn't want one.